All good.
Your heart doesn't hurt down to people. Yeah.
Well,
How are you? Good.
You guys want to grab a seat?
quite the divide here.
How many people are sitting? There's nowhere we can sit where there'll be
Right.
we'll fit everybody.
Evenly distributed.
No, I just. All the way around.
Wow, over there, all over.
Hello.
Over there. So this is, I'm Brian Shoup, I'm the chair of the Waitsfield Selectboard. This is a joint meeting of the Waitsfield and Fayston Selectboards. Chuck and I flipped this coin, I lost, so I'll start the meeting and call it to order. Are there any, some of the, before we start into the fire department discussion, I think we should go around and introduce ourselves. Not everybody knows each other, I'm sure. Before we get to that, though, we do need to see if there's any changes to the agenda. Anything removed. It's a very simple agenda, just to talk about two items of business between Fayston and Selectboard, the fire department budget that's coming up, and
Hang on for just 1 second. Sorry.
and a road agreement, which will be very, very simple and quick. Any changes to the agenda? None. And then we also ask if there's anybody here for a public forum, which I don't think
We got Dawn here.
There's one.
Yes.
Yeah, Dawn.
Yeah, Don Simonini.
Go ahead.
Oh,
A public forum is just if you have anything you want to address either of the boards with that's
okay,
not on
right
the
now.
agenda.
All right, yeah, I live up off Center Fayston, about a mile up, and been driving the hill there for 50 years, 49 to be exact. And the road crews do a phenomenal job. That piece of road is a piece of work, you know, as most of you know, especially in mud season. And what we do in the winter, we've got the arrangement between the two towns to do the winter maintenance, where Fayston takes care of it down to Route 100. But winter maintenance is, I believe, defined is when we're not plowing. So what happens in the springtime, our grader will come down, but we'll go as far as the town line. The lower end of the road might be terrific or not. So my request is, could we consider a slightly altered sharing agreement between the towns, that when our grader comes down the hill in the springtime to smooth the mud over to make it passable, could we work something out where the grader goes all the way to 100 so that Center Fayston Road is at least equal from Route 100 going up as relative to the grader? Then if we need gravel, which I understand is an expense, that's might be called summer maintenance, so maybe the two road crews could get together and decide if you really need gravel on the Waitsfield side, that an arrangement can be made. So the request is, would you guys consider allowing our grader to come all the way down in the springtime, even though it's not plowing time, but to get us through the mud season? Because again, there are times that our end of the road's great, Waitsfield's end's not good. Or it's vice versa. Waitsfield's graded, but we haven't graded until the next day. There's been some thought that, you know, the road crews get together and they can coordinate. I don't know how realistic that is, because you get graders running all over the place in springtime. So specifically, my request, would you consider, here or some other time, if you could extend winter maintenance to at least smooth the mud over until the road is equal from 100 going uphill? So that's my request.
What do you have to say about that, Chuck?
Well, Dawn has presented this to us in the past, and what I'd like to do is have the road crews or the road foreman at a meeting to discuss this. You know, it's not a decision that I don't think I could make here. So that's what I would recommend, if we could do that, get our road foreman together and talk about that.
Yeah, definitely we can't, I'm not going to make that decision now until we talk to Josh and your foreman.
Yeah.
So
The crews,
the
crews do a great job, make no mistake.
They do
that's a tough
coordinate.
one.
I think they coordinate better than they typically have in the past.
And I do think it's better, I agree. there are those moments, though, when you come down Center Fayston and maybe the grade is just finished, and you get to the end, and it's the opposite. You guys have graded your end, and you get beyond the town line, and it's challenging, so.
So what I suggest is we go ahead and, last year we simplified the agreement and decided on a 3% kind of COLA increase, rather than go through that convoluted process that we had. We could just go ahead with that, and as we sit down, we haven't talked to our road commissioner or road foreman about the budget yet, so we're early stages of that, so there's still time if you wanted to amend it later. Based on those conversations, we can look into that. Does that make sense to folks?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that.
We're pretty much at the end of our budget.
Yeah,
Because you're June to July, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I agree with Brian. I think we can discuss the road agreement as we originally planned, the 3% increase, and then any changes that need to be made, we can do that, talking to the road foreman and see what they think. Yeah,
I appreciate that, thank you.
yeah.
Anybody else here for public forum? Great, so why don't we, again, I'm Brian Shoup, I'm Waitsfield Select Board. Why don't we go around the room to the department? You guys can introduce yourself, maybe what your position is with the department.
Trevor Waitsfield Fire, just fire.
And former chief.
Feels good to say that.
Jared Young, Chief of Waitsfield Fayston Fire Department.
Daniel Beatty, Assistant Chief, Waitsfield Fayston Fire Department.
Josh Noyes, Lieutenant.
Evan Thayer, I'm a lieutenant on the Waitsfield Fayston Fire Department.
York Haverkamp, Town Administrator for Waitsfield.
Fred Messer, Waitsfield Select Board member.
Dave Babbitt-Klein, Waitsfield Select Board member.
Josh Curtis, Waitsfield Select Board.
Don Simonini, Fayston.
Chuck Martell, Fayston Select Board.
Ron Graves, Fayston Select Board.
Sarah Stavraki, Fayston Treasurer. Maddie Nasser, Town Clerk and Select Board Assistant of Fayston.
Great. So we don't have a real formal agenda. We just in the past have found it useful for the boards to be able to meet here, hear from the department. You guys are further along with your budgeting than we are, but I think York has a meeting coming up, Jared, with you and a couple of other folks to talk about the department's budget. We have just found it useful in the past to kind of hear from you about what some of your needs are, what you expect coming up. We do have in the capital plan, we were talking earlier, one of the pumpers is going to be replaced in the next year, so that's in our capital budget for coming up in 2027. And maybe just any other updates or thoughts that you have. How do you want to proceed?
Well, I think for the most part, one of the biggest things, or one of the bigger concerns, which obviously got taken care of, was replacement, which is engine 5, which is right behind you. That's a 23-year-old, well, going on 24-year-old truck. Hard to believe, but it is in pretty good condition for its year, and it's been really faithful over the years, making sure it's always running and gets the job done. We hate to replace it, but it's time, and things go on, and things start to break more often, so it's more beneficial to get that replaced, and with that, we upgraded to having a bunch of new technology, as well as getting a crew cab to carry more personnel. So we made a lot of improvements with the new engine that's coming in 2027, so we're pretty excited about that. And as far as the station goes, Josh has been my officer in charge of station maintenance, and Evan's also been in charge of truck maintenance, so each officer on the department has their own assignment as far as what they are chosen to maintain. They kind of go around the table at the beginning of the year, and they pick something that they would like to pursue. And my officers have done an outstanding job staying on top of everything as much as they can. Obviously things break and things happen, but we do the best we can, and they are usually, I like to say, 99% of the time right on top of it, getting things repaired. So one of the things I had brought up to York, and we had talked a bit earlier in the year, was that some of the station concerns. The station's getting old. The outside of the station is starting to fall down. Things are just starting to rot. A lot of metal skirting around, and the siding is all metal that's rusting. It's not looking the greatest. We try to do cosmetically. There's not much we can do with metal, and Daniel is my go-to builder guy, and so is Josh. They do a lot of building, and it was just taking a look at that. It's kind of hard to, what do we do with that? You know, that's the question. We had same thing happen out here where it kind of fell through. We had to try to tack that up, or the insulation was going to fall out. And, it's just things rusting and corroding, being as old as the station is. So there's the concerns of the outside of the station, and one of my other concerns was the heating system. As you can hear, the constant squeaking. So the plumbing it's been repaired. There's the pieces that have been patched and leaks that have been fixed. Like I said, we stay on top of it as much as we can to make sure that we're going to have heat, especially when it's this cold. We have members that come in every day to check morning and night to make sure that the heat's going to work. And I hate that that has to happen because we are worried that our heating system may have an issue. And then our trucks, there's 3,200 gallons of water that's just going to freeze on that truck and it's useless. So we have a lot of dedicated people that stop in periodically throughout the day and make sure that we have heat. And just a couple months ago, we had one of the loading heaters, which are these guys. Another one that had to be replaced. They started to crack and leak, which came out of our operating budget, but we just didn't have a choice. We have to. But we can't have something break and then we have a flood in here because it's all aquatic heat. It's all water. When thing breaks, it's just going to pour out. So it's staying on top of that maintenance, which Josh has done an outstanding job making sure that those things are done. But there's plenty of these other loadings that are scattered around this side. This one's been replaced 2 years ago. That one this year. The other ones are starting to have the same issues where they're concerning. I've had plumbers, and so has Josh, look at them, and they go, you're rolling the dice whether or not this is going to last. And we keep doing what we're doing and hope for the best. My plan was to continue to stay on top of replacing one at a time, but that's only half the issue when it comes to our actual heating system, which is a dinosaur. We get it clean and maintained every year, as we should, but it doesn't change the age and the concerns that I personally have with the heating system. So, other than that, the plumbing, it's old, it leaks. We've had to have plenty of repairs done on the plumbing. And then there's been things that we've tried to do within reason, like painting, to make things look better, keep morale up. A lot of guys spend a lot of time to do what we can legally to keep the station alive within reason. There's some things that we can't do. And it's great that most of I would say everybody on this department has a mentality, this is our house. We want to make sure that we do what we can. And everyone is willing to try to help and do that. But at the same time, there's a limit. The limitations are when it comes to licensing, you have to be able to have a plumbing license to do things. And you have to be able to be insured to do metal work that does harm. There's just a lot of bigger items that we can't do. And I would love to see a facelift, but I get that it's a lot. But other than some of the plumbing and the heating and the external parts of things, I think, I've been on this department going on 17 years. There's been less cosmetic stuff, more structural. There's been reinforcements that have been put in on the top. You can see the I-beams there, if you look up, have been reinforced. That was done in the last 8 years, I believe. Doors and parts of the other building have been weatherproofed to keep and try to maintain minimum heat loss. So some things have definitely been done throughout the years that I've been on the department, but there's other things that have been neglected through the years. So I think that's, if you guys have anything to add. Yeah.
What was that?
A lot of mandates.
It's the building about 50 years old?
I was built in the late 50s, so. Sorry,
There's a plaque outside on this when he was dedicated.
yeah, that was late
What's that?
59.
60, yeah.
50, 69. It's definitely pushing more than 60 years. Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely up there in age, but.
About 50 years.
Can I ask you a question? Do you, in terms of like every year, passive comes through and inspects, and I've seen that inspection report, I haven't really spent time on it. Is there like, do you guys have a list of things that are most serious and kind of like a to-do list of this would be the best to do? And I hear like you guys have done a lot to do Band-Aids, and there are things that are safety concerns that you haven't been able to do, or like a more imminent threat type of to-do list?
I mean, as far as safety goes, we wanted a new electrical, which was another big item, and I tried to see if it was feasible to throw it into our operating budget. And then, of course, we had to replace the modine heater. But the electrical panel is about as old as the building, and we had concerns about that, and maybe getting that updated with a new service, maybe bigger, and just to get everything that's in there replaced was like, with all the breakers and the labor, it was like $5,300, which was going to blow our operating budget for building maintenance. So, as far as like safety goes, that would be one thing that for sure would be top of the list. Just because we have breakers that just randomly blow, and we have to have an electrician come fix it because technically we shouldn't be screwing around with the panel, so to speak. Either most of us know how to change a breaker, it just turns into that. If someone gets electrocuted, it's a bigger issue. So, have to get an electrician down here and do that, fix that. But yeah, they're just so old that they can start going, and we have to get those repaired. So that's kind of definitely concerning in my perspective. And then other safety things, I mean, for the general public, like I said, if the station freezes, we're kind of no longer useful if these trucks freeze up.
There's the equipment reserve, right? But there's not a building.
We do have a building reserve.
Building.
Do we contribute to
What's that?
it? Do we contribute to it?
We don't commingle
I
our
don't think so.
reserves.
No.
So we usually be talking about that. Just about, being
Our fire department reserve. Most of it.
Yeah.
Our capital budget, we put, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, 5,000 in the building reserve. It had a balance of about 65. And we had projected that we'd have to put more in this year.
That's where it needs to be addressed, right? Is the expenses.
Yeah. We do a line item in the budget for building maintenance. We've increased that. Yeah, the last couple of years.
That's not about, that we have a reserve for the equipment. When it's coming up, it's what's important, what we're gonna buy to use, how we're gonna pay today.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge to put some of those bigger items like the heating systems or the electrical panel in the day-to-day operating budget. But we would be, in my view anyway, we'd be happy to use some of that reserve, the specific building reserve, separate from the equipment reserve, and use that to address some of this stuff, particularly if it's a safety issue. So I don't know if you guys would be in a similar position from the equipment reserve or what, but
Well, that was gonna be the next question that I'd ask is, the items that you listed here, have they been priced out what it would cost to do them? And are they included in the request for this year or not?
I had the panel that was priced out. I wouldn't have priced out like a whole brand new heating system. That would be a lot.
Yeah.
But feasibly, I thought maybe it was possible to kind of sneak in the electrical components into our operating budget, which wasn't in the cards for that one. But no, I have not had the entire heating system quoted. How much that would be? Roughly, to get one modem with labor repaired is around $3,000. To do the plumbing and for the unit and all of that, that's what we had to put into our operating budget to get that one repaired. But as far as like a whole brand new heating system, they definitely can get, especially the size that we have is upwards to almost 400,000 BTUs to maintain. There's a lot of dead space in here, so it would be a pretty extensive heating system if we were, and I guess something I can definitely get, but I just don't have that currently.
So it's not in the budget request yet for this year?
No.
Okay. Okay.
It seems like we wanna anticipate some pretty sizable needs.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't see people running down here 24 hours a day checking on the heating system, make sure it's not leaking, and that just seems like it's above and beyond. We should be addressing some of this stuff now, I think.
Have you looked into, freeze-ups are a concern for all of us. Have you looked into some of the simple technology now for at least low temp and dials people, so people.
We do have the thermostats were updated, and they will alert. I believe trips on. I have not set it up on. Yeah, I don't have it on my phone, but it will alert the trip if it gets below 50 degrees in the station. I think primarily one of the bigger concerns is like if there were to be a leak, we might not. And it's not really feasible to put like the water detectors on the floor, because as you can see, we back in the trucks and the floors are instantly wet. So we can't have one of like a bunch of those on the floor. So I understand like there's definitely things out there to help, but I've thought about it. I just haven't. Those things. Yeah, being that it's a commercial building, our heating system actually does have like a little water cutoff that has to legally, and it will kill our boiler, our heating system, once if one of these were to burst, it would kill the boiler and stop it from working, but it would still also continue to kind of flow water.
I'm talking about shutting the water off the building on that. At night, so next.
I mean, I guess we could do that.
We just wouldn't turn it back on when we need it.
Yeah.
We do it for so we do thermostats.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's protection.
Mm-hmm.
Is it gonna happen on new system?
Yeah.
Brand new.
Does this building meet your needs as a firefighter?
I'm sorry?
Does this building meet the needs of the modern firefighter?
No.
What things are missing in here? What do you need?
There's a lot of NFPA, technically, there's a lot of violations, being that as a firehouse, we have to have some of the big things that every fire department has to have is like, you have to be able to have a shower. So if we have a fire, you're able to come wash the contaminants off your body before you bring it home. There has to be.
Do you have a shower here?
No. There has to be a ventilation system for all of our trucks, and there's not. Technically, the trucks should be in their own room. It has to be closed off from our meeting area, which it's never been. The ventilation system is a big hazard when, I know it seems crazy because the door's all open and then we leave, but I don't know if anyone's familiar, but it's basically a long tube that goes on the exhaust, and then when you pull away, it releases, and when you start the truck, the ventilation system kicks on and it pulls all the exhaust out of the building, and then when you leave, obviously it disconnects, and then you don't have to worry about having all that diesel exhaust in the building.
You don't have that?
We don't have that. And that was, I know, one of the bigger concerns when we had the building inspected. I remember hearing about that between that and then the shower. And we try to do our best as a department to update some of the things that we could do. And when we do the tour, I'll show you over in that corner, we created a clean area, which most departments are, I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's mandatory, but most departments are trying to get that as standard practice. For the longest time, we would come back from a fire, we'd be covered in God knows what. We would throw our equipment, our air packs on these very tables where we would eat, and we had nowhere else to put them. So now we have a clean station far away from where we meet, far away from where we eat, far away from any of this, and that's where we clean our hoses, our air packs, our gear. We have the extractor over there, which I'll go over, which takes all the carcinogens off of our gear. And all of that stuff is done now away, and that's standard practice now because of all the cancer-causing carcinogens that are on not only our gear but get on our body, and that's also part of the reason why they say there should be, multiple showers, so you can come back here and you don't take that home to your family, and you have to go shower in your bathtub or your shower where your kids are going to take a shower in the bath, and you're bringing all that home. And when I first started, I remember taking my gear home and washing it in my parents' washer when I was 15, and it was just like, I didn't know what I was doing, but now all my parents' stuff's contaminated, so it was just, now we have the luxury of having a specialized piece of equipment that's designed to take out those cancer-causing carcinogens, which is very nice, and a lot of our guys appreciate that. So,
Jim, may I make a comment? Through Capital Fire Mutual Aid, I still go to their meetings quite a bit. All new firehouses are having their own contaminated clean room. Like Warren up the road, they're defining a room because they're airborne when you clean it. That we've done the best we can with having that area over there. But having a separate room for better protection that's what most people in Capital Fire are doing in every article that I read. The newer generation is really, the cancer is a big thing. So leading thousands of firefighter fatalities now. And within our department, we have 3 people that are battling cancer. It's something that, thank you to the officers, they're taking it very seriously. What we can do.
This inspection report, is this something you'd share with us?
I've tried reaching out to the assistant state fire marshal who did the inspection, which was 3 or 4 years ago, and asked him if he could disclose that report, and I never heard back from him. I tried again, and I didn't hear back from him. I think part of it is there's a lot of violations, and he didn't want to pursue anything because obviously we're a volunteer fire department. He doesn't want to have to open that can of worms, so to speak, from the state standpoint with all the violations. And I think I can't speak for him, but he's trying to kind of give us a little leeway, so there's not. But at the same token,
We can't fix it if we don't know what's broken.
Exactly. And I totally agree, so I'm not sure. When I emailed him, I told him that I would really, we want to make the appropriate adjustments and do what we can do, and the towns are more than willing to help us do that. But he still I still have not heard that.
It would be really helpful. I hesitate, but it'd be useful to do a cost benefit to say what would it cost to bring everything up to code and address all of the violations versus what would a new building cost?
Yeah.
Is that the better approach? As much as, we're both dealing with town garages and sewer systems and everything else, it's still, saying that you're in violation just is, I'm sure makes everybody uncomfortable, especially you guys.
Yeah, I think that we'd love to see the improvements that are really mandatory in firehouses, but that we also, I think for the longest time, I think most people were under the assumption that, it is a lot of money. And I don't know if that's why it wasn't pursued, or if, I can't speak to previous select board members or previous chiefs or how anything works. It's how everything falls at my feet and my officers, and what we can do to better serve everyone. So,
Well, we want to fully support you folks.
yeah, no, and we know that between Waitsfield and Fayston, you guys are absolutely amazing with support and funding and getting.
But we need to
a
know.
lot of things that we need. So,
Do want to reiterate what Jared says in the past about getting that checklist from the fire marshal. I had that struggle. At one point, when I was first became chief, he came and did the inspection. Annie, actually, I think Fred, you were here when the inspection was done by the fire marshal. I invited the select board here. Annie did have a list. That list and everything. I don't know what happened with it, because we couldn't get some more detail on the tough communication. But there was a list submitted to the town. And I gave you the numbers. I just want to reiterate here, I haven't seen trouble with these items.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Particularly checklist, but
I mean,
also, the other
if you
items
don't-
we talked about, the building maintenance outside, the heating system, the plumbing, the electrical. If we had estimates on what it would cost to do those, we probably over time, we could do some funding to make sure that stuff happens, I'm sure it won't happen all in 1 year, but if we have a sense of what the approximate costs are, we can start putting money aside in our budgets to fund you to do all these things. So, because I agree, I don't think there's anybody in any of our towns that would say that they're not happy with what the fire department's doing for us, and we need to support you as best we can. So, that's my feeling.
Yeah, I was gonna say if we can get that list of needs again, and then maybe look at some grants that might be out there. I don't know if you guys have been after the grant scene very much. We can talk about it at a later date. There might be some things out there for municipal fire station modernization or construction that could be used for some of this stuff. So,
Sure, you guys did get your distracted.
Yeah, we did. We got the tractor hooked up out there with a tank. We're going through a lot of soap. Means the guys are using it.
Good.
It's fortunately hasn't been, these were like 2 to 3 years ago, you had several structural fires. Haven't been that busy.
during COVID, it was really rough. We had 5 structure fires just in our operational area, not counting mutual aid, so it was a very busy time. I usually, between Waitsfield and Fayston, and then we respond within the mutual aid system, which had expanded quite a bit in the last 10 years. We're now getting called water areas in Middlesex, sometimes in Northfield. So we don't only just go to Northtown and Warren. We have a lot of very educated firefighters who are dedicated. I think a lot of the other towns love having us come help out. So I think they're that's always a great feeling when we go when we're asked to go help with an active situation. So. We have 25, and 12 of those are certified interior firefighters. They've gone through fire academy, and then we have another 6 that are pump operators, and then we have some auxiliary members as well that help out here and everything. And then we have we have another 5 newer members that are really only exterior, but they're in the process of training. Yeah.
Is that a pretty comfortable level?
Yeah, I mean, it's more people doesn't there. So.
We were talking about the metal road roof the other day, and what if mortality did install something on the road road, and they have a hard time putting a truck over there.
Yeah, it's everywhere around Washington County. There's some departments that do struggle with manpower. It's very fortunate that we don't. Even during the day, we managed to get a decent 6-man crew, which is challenging for a lot of departments with everyone working full-time jobs. Depending on the situation, we may have 8 to 12 guys during the day, and we may have anywhere from 6 to 12 at night at 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's really nice to know that we have a good group of people, but it's also, there's times where you get a little nervous because it's a weekend and everyone has their own life, and we understand. But for the most part, we're very fortunate with the manpower that we have, and I'm always grateful of the men in this department that are willing to drop everything and go. So.
You were put a strategic financial plan together. Having served on a couple of boards here in town over the years, the challenge with volunteerism is time. People have families, life. Are you able, with all of your current responsibilities, to really be able to put something together, or do you need some outside help, whether it's outside people who are smart enough to do that kind of thing to help you out? Because I always get concerned with the volunteerism. It runs out of steam because people have lives. So putting a financial plan together, doing the budgeting, getting the pricing, that's a big job. And I look at you guys stressed, I'm sure, as thin as you can imagine. Do you really have time to do that? Or should the towns, however you do it, appoint people to help out you, to assist you in putting a financial budgeting plan together that's got some longer term look to it, and not leaving it just for you guys who are fighting fires?
Anyway, I think the only thing I really have to go by, and I know it's not the same as building budget, but I told a group of guys, and actually 2 of them are right there, we had to spec out this new truck. It seemed like every other week they were meeting, they were calling, they were doing everything they possibly could to get the best price and the best truck. And I have utmost confidence that if any one of the officers or any of the firefighters on this department, if they were tasked with that, I'm sure we could do it. I think that there's a level of commitment that is here, and like I said before, we want to make sure that our house is as good as it can be. There's a lot of pride within everybody here, and I'm not opposed to having help for sure. I think that it would be definitely helpful to have board members assist throughout the process, but I also think that we could probably make it happen and get the quotes and do that as well. But either way, like I said, the only thing I really have to go off of is specking out $500,000 truck and make sure that everything, all of our needs are met for the new piece of apparatus. And it was definitely done by these two guys, and they had a whole committee that they spearheaded, and I'm sure it helped with that as well. And there was a bunch of other people that were part of that. And I think that if we put something like that to equivalent the same kind of outcome, we could probably get it. But
Thank you. We did, in the past, there has been a certain reliance on the town, Waitsfield's town administrator. We were without one for 10 months, so that wasn't working for anybody. But I guess we still have some money in the budget targeted for administrative support for getting an RFP out, or pulling together some of the numbers, working with one of your teams.
Yeah.
So you should, hopefully have established that contact.
Yeah, I would love to partner with you guys better, to sit down at a table and everything like Brian talked about, coming up with maybe a cost benefit analysis of what we're looking at in terms of, fixes that need to happen immediately to long term. And then saying, coming up with a plan and then helping find proposals, quotes for all the work that needs to be done so that we can collaborate better. I personally would love to have a really great working relationship. I know everyone really respects your crew and all you guys do for our towns. And anything we can do to support that, we're happy to do.
And Trip, in the past, we had, like Mike Jordan was involved in the budget analysis with you and that kind of thing. And I think he's still willing to do that. And
Yeah, I'm willing to help whenever the chief needs help at. We had a capital budget set aside. Mike Jordan put in a bunch of time with Christine and Mike Jordan and I and Craig used to sit down and touch base about every 3 months. And so there is a capital budget layout plans that Mike had. And the numbers are persistent and scary.
I think we ought to revisit it. I do recall that Christine was more involved in the day-to-day. So I'm glad to provide whatever support that I can and we can.
And I reached out to the chief about budget season, and Brian and I are joining your team on the 16th, so that we can get a better understanding of what we're looking at budgetarily, short-term and long-term. And I look forward to that meeting.
Did you say you guys are wrapping up your budget?
well, yes, I was just going to ask the time frame, establishing it, because we're putting our budget together right now. We'll probably be done. Well, we have one meeting, final budget meeting in January, right? Yeah. So we are getting close to pulling it together. So we'll need numbers quickly by the end of the month, if possible.
Yeah, I think we're meeting on the 16th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, did you say you have not established a building reserve?
Not specifically for the fire department. We just put money into a reserve fund for the fire department.
Okay.
But we didn't separate it from equipment and building. Yeah.
And we should be on the same page with those reserves, really. I think we are, right?
Say it again?
I'm pretty sure we have been on
the same page on the reserves based on our formula spending.
Yeah.
We should both, and that we are.
Well, I think with Christine retiring, we should definitely coordinate, because I think she was a point person on our side, and Brian sounds like he's willing to get engaged. I'm very much willing to get engaged as well, because that's where I think we can help you guys the most, would be the long-term planning, not so much on what equipment we need, that's your guys' job, but on like how we're going to pay for it. So the worst thing I think we can do is surprise the town's taxpayers with like, holy shit, we need a new engine number 5 and it's going to cost $500,000. If we have the planning horizon to plan for that and set aside the reserves, then it's like super smooth, and that's been working well to date. We just need to make sure that continues, in my view.
So just to touch base on the reserve fund, that Mike Jordan and I and Christine and other members sat down and said, Our air balls, every 15 years, they need to be replaced. That's the life expectancy of them. We just got our new air compressor that's 5 years old. We gave those major items a shelf life. I believe it's like $150,000 to replace your air balls. That type of stuff has been on that capital reserve. And we created it like 6 or 7 years ago. And there's so much money allocated for those things. The capital reserve was set up for the big ticket items like the truck, the air packs, and there was a shelf life. So that has been floating around for the last 5 or 6 years. I'm not sure how much of the building stuff was in there, but any of the real big ticket items that weren't in the operating budget, was on that capital.
We should start, well, we talked about this, we should start to look at those other items, so, because that's how we will collect the taxes to fund that, is putting it in our reserve and trying to anticipate what the needs will be over the next 4, 5, 6 years or so, So the more of those numbers we have, I think it's gonna be helpful for us to budget it within the towns.
I checked with Mike a couple of years ago because inflation was scaring the Jesus out of me. These numbers accurate and stuff. He goes, Triple, I got your back to take care of you. So you think vigilant with that.
Yeah.
You guys remember, I think I probably missed the meeting, but roughly the price tag on the new replacement for engine number 5?
It was just under 600,000.
Cool.
Yeah, that's.
You just don't pay much.
We're hoping that it stays there. There was some small worries with the chassis because the price for the build doesn't change, but the chassis price, the international actual truck chassis, that price can change between the time that we place the order from the time that they do the build. So there was like $20,000 to $30,000 of play based on how much that chassis could fluctuate just at any given point. So we're hoping that it will stay under 600,000.
Thank you.
And delivery is in 2027, but will you need money prior to that?
We need
for ordering and those kinds of things, or will it all be due when the truck arrives?
It's only due when the truck's delivered.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you expect that?
Garth said that it would be early 2027, so it could be March, April, somewhere in there.
Do you trade in the old ones?
No.
Is that just not something that's, because I know when we do a grader or something, we usually get some trade in.
That's completely different though. I mean, that's with the technology and everything moving forward, the value decreases so much in that. And it's a very specific unit that only does one thing.
So it becomes a museum piece.
Something like that.
So what would you do with it?
What's that?
What would you do with it? I know the last one went off to auction.
What's the town of
The
Waitsfield?
town of Waitsfield ended up with it, and then they pulled the pumper body off and they put their water tank on to chloride the roads.
Once after 25 years, NFPA doesn't consider that a responsibility.
Yeah. So I think that the truck itself only has like 12,000 miles on it, being 24 years old. And it goes great, but it's just, it is like Evan said, the technology is getting to the point where it's obsolete, and there's new standards, which I didn't even know, like things are starting to come out where our new truck has to have a bunch of safety things that are on the external part of the truck. There has to be visible light that indicate how much water is on the truck. That has to be able to be visible from like 50 to 75 feet away. So any person can look back and say, hey, the truck's almost empty. There has to be air horn buttons on the outside of the truck now in case we have to do an emergency evacuation and pull our guys out rapidly. That has to be on the outside of the truck now. And there's a bunch of other safety going. When I went through the schematics, I was really impressed with how much stuff they have to add that like we didn't ask for, but it has to be on there because that's NFPA code now. So that technology has to be updated, and unfortunately, a other fire departments aren't gonna want something that's 25 years old. So that's why there's no trade-in, so to speak.
Museum piece.
What's that?
Museum piece.
This little girl, wonderful truck. He still goes strong.
So any other questions or points to discuss?
Can I ask Larissa? We're joined by the vice chair of the Waitsfield Select Board on Zoom. And I know a lot of this is, her question is about the Waitsfield water system also, but she's wondering about the status of the hydrants and independent. Yeah, we can hear you a little bit.
Okay, so I was going to say, I've heard anecdotally that there are some challenges with the hydrants that you guys use, and especially as Waitsfield is trying to figure out how to budget for potentially building a new one. It would be great to know sort of what the status is for the resources that you're currently using.
As far as for, I guess, the hydrant use in general, or?
Basically, is everything working the way that you hope that it will? Do you have access to the water that you need to be able to do the work that you do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we utilize the hydrants more than ever. When I first started, every time we had a structure fire, there was someone dedicated to one of these pumpers at the river drafting, which is pulling the water out of the river using an air drafting system. And that person stayed at the river the whole entire call, and they filled tankers. That was their job. Now our tankers and mutual aid partner tankers are shuttling using the hydrant system, which is that frees up another truck, and it's a lot more efficient. So I think for the most part, all the fires that we've used the hydrants, they've worked great. I think there was one fire 5 years ago where there was an issue, and we had to relocate to a different hydrant, but that was the only one that I can remember. That was the Tigers fire. Yeah.
I just do it with manpower.
Yeah.
And safety.
No,
yeah, it's definitely a lot easier not having to rely. Obviously, we will if we have to, if we're in a more of a remote area like in Fayston or the back parts of Waitsfield. If we have to rely on drafting off of a river or a pond or using our vacuum tanker, we can utilize those and do that. But it is definitely, as Tripp said, it's safer not having to go send someone down to an icy river and cut a hole if it has to be, or an icy pond and cut a hole, so we can draft out of another water source. So it is a nice luxury to be able to utilize those in an emergency. So.
Okay, well, it's probably not within the scope of the current conversation, but it would be worth finding out as we're trying to figure out how much to allocate towards potentially building another hydrant on East Warren Road. How important that would be for your process.
Yeah, the East Warren Road, Ralston, where we might build one off the pond, and we're working on budgeting that. Does that seem like something that would definitely be recommended by your department, if that's kind of what Larissa's asking for?
Yeah, and as I said, this may be outside the scope of what we're currently talking about, but I wanted to get a better sense of what the lay of the land looked like.
Yeah, I mean, the standpipes are a little bit different. We have a lot of standpipes out there. That's also something that we utilize. We have to maintain them ourselves. When we're talking about standpipes, we have to go blow them out. In the summertime, we usually have crews that go out, and sometimes if the interior guys are doing a training, sometimes the pump operators will go and do these standpipe blowouts because they'll get compacted with mud and we won't be able to blow up. But we have quite a few of those scattered around the valley. It's always nice to have more and have that resource available and be able to pull off of them. And given any strategic location, the East Warren Road and Ralston Road, that's kind of getting in more of that area that there is no hydrants obviously up there. So the more standpipes up there and the easier it is to connect, the better. So.
Well, and you're aware that we we're anticipating about $10,000 cost for that, and $30,000, so trying to look at if there's other alternatives.
So there's one on Wellsfield that's not hooked up now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Trip had actually got the ball rolling on that 4 years ago. And that's when it was spec'd out for 10,000, and it's gone out like 200%.
Chief, do you mind if I
Yeah.
back on that? So, property owner came up to me and said, you basically put in the standpipe. That's well. That particular place got to be a lot like. So, we came in and got some emergency money at a Selectboard meeting. I learned, don't come in and ask for money from you guys. It's pretty disturbing. You pass it along through to get the pipe outside of the pond. The conversation was with the board that we were going to, that was going to be enough money to have constructed that year. Well, as you know, inflation happened, COVID went through the roof. The guy didn't want excavation done on his property during bird season and wet. So it came back a couple of years went by. There was supposed to be money put in the reserve fund for that. That never got done.
Well, there is money in a reserve.
Yeah, it never got happened so that construction could happen next. I stepped out of it and was back from it, but the thing is, it'd be nice to have chief, if I'm wrong, if a property owner builds a pond or something like that, that there's a little bit of money set aside so that we don't lose the opportunity to put a skill. So that's up to the chief, but having some money flexible when those times are up, we want to use. Have a little bit.
Yeah, we're working on getting a quote from Kingsbury also, just to have a secondary quote. And we'll see how that compares. I haven't received it yet.
Excuse me, you guys, if there's not any other, if there are any other questions or topics we can discuss, you guys could show us around a little bit. What a call looks like for you guys, what you're doing there.
I'm sure I gave out my wonderful lieutenant's gear up for you.
You don't have to do that. I mean, I would like to see my practice.
Yeah, I'd like to see what this thing looks like. Fire department was it head chiefs that wouldn't acknowledge that they needed to replace it.
More efficient ways to get the floor quantities and stuff like that. We have these here. These are just ready. We call it a set of irons. Interior guys. So we can pull, grab it, and so here tells me to go to the front door. I need this. If you throw this on my shoulder, a set of irons. I've got my air back on. I'm ready. This hook's in 2.5 and we have the light. So the second person coming in to play this whole he's constantly reviewing things and stuff like that, and has to be more efficient and faster. So these are some of the ways to come up with. We got a chicken fire. We're doing this. Not on this one. We get one on the other one. Yeah. So wherever the ball is. Yeah.
So I'll run through the instructions. Feel free to ask any questions as we go. I know there's a lot of equipment on here that you probably have no idea what that even does. You're more welcome to ask. Happy to answer your question. So engine 6 is our newer engine, 2018. This is what we call our first new engine. It's our primary. It's what usually goes out of the truck or out of the house first. It's less right now. The way we operate in the wintertime is engine 5 has chains on it. This one doesn't. It does have a brand new set of tires on it, winter tires. But engine 5, if we get something in Fayston on a snowy day, we will take that truck instead. And then we've had times where, like today, where maybe the roads are not so good in the morning, but in the afternoon they're fine. In order to save on response, we always try to keep one truck that doesn't have chains, because when we do have chains, we can only go 30 miles an hour max. So if you go any faster than that, you're gonna break the chain and break the truck. So we have a pretty strict policy on that if you're not familiar with truck driving. But so we have this truck that's ready to go out the door. Primarily in the summertime, this will be the first truck. Has all of our equipment ready to go. Engine 5 is almost identical. There's a couple other pieces of equipment on there that are not on this truck, and we're kind of working to get the new truck to have even more equipment because it will have more personnel on it. So that's something that we're working towards. But this first bay, this is kind of our car accident area. Has a lot of the hazmat cleanup, spills, odds and ends in here to help with that. For the most part, when we do have car wrecks, we're called on fire danger, threat of fire, or hazmat. Almost, I'd say, pretty much everyone on our department is what is called hazmat operational level. We have to be certified to be able to do anything with gasoline, oil, radiator fluid, any of the things that can come out of the car. You have to be certified to even touch and clean up. So all of our guys are certified to do that. That's what that bay is for. This is all for chimney fires, which thank God we don't get a lot of anymore. When I first started, but
You just added. Yeah, that's a cold name.
yeah, we gotta leave within the next 5 minutes. It's my fault. But so chimney fires, when I first started, we had 2 or 3 a week. Now we get maybe 2 or 3 a year.
Why did it find?
Not a lot of people are burning wood as much as they used to. A lot more propane nowadays. So, yeah. So this has all the odds and ends, smaller tools and equipment for chimney fires. In here, same design that our new truck will have. We actually store spare air bottles ready to go on both sides of the trucks in case you need to grab another bottle quickly. They're always full, ready to go, ready to get pulled out. In the back here, this is our officer go side. Basically, the passenger seat of any truck, and that front seat's called the officer seat for almost every department. It doesn't necessarily mean an officer has to be sitting there, but that's usually where the officer sits. And they will hop out, they can grab our Cleveland leg here, which is a rapid deployment, or you have a set of irons in here as well, which there's both 2 things that you're going to bring to a door when you're getting ready to enter the building. So we can kind of snake around the other side. So the rear of the truck also has a lot of our pre-connect. They're not technically called pre-connect because they're not into the truck. They're separated by this DIY, but we have 1 3/4. We have our water stand hose, which is meant for water supply, which is this big guy here, that's what actually gets into your hydrant. We use this gate to go into the hydrant, and then that's large diameter that goes into this gate. We can also utilize this gate ply, to feed off of a hydrant to go from one truck to another, or go from our tanker to another truck to another truck. So we can piggyback water off of each individual truck. Something that we trained quite a bit with in the last 4 or 5 years is doing relays with all the water that we can bring to a scene. So at any given moment, if the tanker, both engines are responding to a structure fire, we'll have 5,200 gallons of water on scene readily available. And we've trained to be able to utilize all that water as capacity to go on the fire almost instantaneously. Obviously, it takes quite a bit of manpower to do it, but within 10 minutes max, we'll have 10 guys on scene, depending on where everyone's coming from. So we're able to utilize that relay system and this gate Y to get as much water on the scene as possible, and then get it on the fire as soon as possible. And we've trained extensively on how to do that.
How long would that much water last on a fire on a decent size fire?
Depending on how many attack lines, normally the initial attack will have 2 inch and 3/4 lines going, with 2 on each line, and then we may pull off an additional 2 within, I would say, 20 minutes. You could blow through 5,000 if you're really going full bore for 4 lines. So if you're utilizing it correctly, we've actually in the past had complete knockdown on fires with that water without using mutual aid systems. So it's definitely, get water on the fire as fast as you can and do the job as fast as you can, and that's what saves houses. So that's what we've trained on extensively, like I said. So engine 5 setup almost identical, same way, just a little bit smaller. This truck had a little bit more space in the back. We have pipe poles and other ceiling roofing tools when we're inside interior to pull down and get debris out of our way when things are in the wall or the ceiling. And then we have hydrant bag and smaller lengths of LDH to get hooked up into other situations. In the fire service, we have to prepare for just about anything. We always have a contingency plan. You always have something ready in case something fails. So it's just constant redundancy, and that's how we have to operate. You have to anticipate that something's not going to work right. And that's another way that we train. We periodically do like a chaos training where it's just like we try to throw as many problems as we can at individuals so they have to problem solve and overcome it, and just makes people think on how we're going to get the job done. And it's always using your brain, not just your muscles. So. The other side are most of our air packs. As some of you may have seen, we have our rapid deployment, called monitor. This is Quits force, so it's 500 gallons a minute. We put our 2.5 into here. You can get a large volume of water on the fire, and the reason they call it a monitor is you kind of just put it down, it hooks into the ground, spikes in. You actually can push down on these spikes, and you set it and forget it. And you can actually continuously put water on the fire without having that wasted firefighter in that area. So there's one on this truck, one on the 5. We've utilized these in the past to basically protect. A lot of these are used so if there's an adjacent building, we can set that up and put up what's called a water curtain, or we can put direct water on the other building. That way they're not getting that heat, they're not getting that heat transfer or that flame. And unfortunately, when a building's fully involved, we have to start worrying about saving what we can, and that might be other buildings. We'll set these up and then focus all our manpower on getting the main fire out. So another piece of important equipment that we've gotten over the last couple of years, very helpful. As Tripp mentioned, the air packs will be replaced soon. With that, it is one of these, which doesn't get talked about. We train quite a bit with these. This is what's called a RIP pack, the Rapid Intervention Team. We have a 2-in, 2-out rule, as many fire departments do. If you have 2 guys inside, there's 2 guys outside with one of these. They're called the RIP team. The firefighters go down inside, they have to be able to have a team that's ready to go rescue them. And they will have, basically, this is a bigger air bottle. Doesn't look it, but it does hold 60 minutes. All the rest of these bottles are 45s. If you're really huffing and puffing, you're probably only going to last 22 minutes in fire. That's just the reality of it.
That'd be me.
Me too. Yep.
But we do a lot of training with being able to protect our own, and being able, it's not just our own, but other towns. We may be a RIP team for other towns, and we have to go in and rescue them. Well, I hope to God that never happens, but have to prepare for it. So same thing as the other side. We have bottle compartments here, and that one is your pump operator door that has all your fittings and a lot of pretty much every combination you can possibly think of. You hook onto another hydrant, hook onto another truck, you name it, it's there. We have even adapters to hook onto like snowmaking pumps, and you name it. We're still working on it. Like, there's still things that we can use, and we try to update and get new connections, because there's always something new that comes out, whether it's in Warren and we don't have the right connection, or it's in Warrentown or one of their trucks we can't connect to. So we have to, it's kind of on us to make sure we have the right stuff so we don't get jammed up. So I'm out of breath. And we're gonna go over this. Yeah.
So essentially in here, we got 6 air packs full, we got chainsaw down here. Everything for ventilation purposes. This side, we have a whole slew of different Milwaukee tools, whether it's regular lights for power lights, battery power chainsaws, regular packs, generator just in case. This side we actually switched to the pop-up cones now, because actually somebody runs them over, they're not ruined. So we use all those. We've got a whole bunch of portable ventilation fans that are all battery operated. These things are extremely powerful. And then we got a whole slew of extra bottles too. This is like all, we have thermal imaging cameras, gas meters, micro radios, a whole wildlife firebox too. This whole side is, like, our department, it's not mandatory, you have to leave your gear in a rig, but a bunch of us do, and that's what all these bags are here. Like I say, because you can technically drive your personal vehicle to a call, so you can have your gear in your personal vehicle if you like. And then we have a whole bunch of road close signs, fire scene ahead signs. Obviously we do traffic control on car wrecks also, which is the most fun job there is.
So this was rebuilt a couple years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had taken all the innards, and then they refabricated it into another one.
And the purpose of this is really so a firefighter can just go straight to the fire and have all their equipment there, right?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. Something that I think going forward, this design has worked out well for us for a long time. But we also have the issue of we have too many personal vehicles on scene, and it creates a hazard. Part of the reason why we
Like a crew cab on the new engine also.
we wanted to be able to have more people respond to the station. Right now, we're very limited on the amount of people that can go in apparatus. And in the future, I'd really like to see more crew cab vehicles, so we can eliminate personal vehicles.
And the new truck is a crew cab?
Yes, it's a 5-seater. Yeah.
So another thing this vehicle's got in it is it's got a mobile repeater. So communications are challenged, you know, all about the Capital West, the new system coming into effect. If Jared's running a fire scene or something like that, he can switch over and have kick in that mobile repeater. So if he needs to talk to Capital West, he can be out around the fire scene, and his portable radio, once he's within 100 feet of the truck, it'll kick in and talk through that. So that's a very valuable tool that we have in there also.
It helps us out a lot, especially when we're on 17, because not even our truck radios can reach our repeater. It's just so far away. So this will actually bounce our radio transmission and amplify it and shoot it to our repeater, so we're able to have constant communication.
It's not a common frequency, is there? Well, Capital West, I'm not familiar with, but at one time, basically, we were looking. I was asked you to look into the company up in, I forget the name now, but they cover all of Vermont. Are we still all on separate systems, basically, or how does that work? Between the road crews and the fire departments?
So all the fire agencies, almost all of them, that run through Capital Dispatch, so like us, Waterbury, even Warren, and Moretown, and Northfield, Berlin, we all operate on the same frequency, but we also, we have our own repeater because we're so far away from the actual dispatching center, which is in Montpelier, and Waterbury has their own repeater, and then there's just strategically, they've placed repeaters all over, which just amplify that frequency. But there isn't one common frequency. The ambulance has their own frequency, like the road crew has their own frequency. So we're all programmed, like our radios are programmed so we can change channel to talk to the road crew if we need to, or talk with the ambulance service if we need to, but it's not a common frequency yet.
Our repeater is in the same place as the ambulance one, though.
As what?
The ambulance repeater and our repeater are in the same place.
Yeah. Any questions about our utilities? Pretty straightforward. The next truck over there, that's our tandem axle tanker, only 3,200 gallons. It's also vacuum capability, so we can just throw the large diameter 5-inch hard suction right into a river or pond, and we can turn one switch and it will just pull it right out of the river. We can actually fill that truck in less than 2 minutes. 3,200 gallons on full vacuum with high idle. It's like a minute and I can't remember. It's pretty much 2 minutes.
Well, it's like a minute 40 something.
Yeah. The plus side is also that if you're using the hydrant system, there's such high pressure that we can fill that truck once again in less than 2 minutes with the hydrants. So if the hydrants are readily available, we'll use those. If not, we can use that. But the primary function of the tanker, if you're not familiar with it, this bag, which is called our portable tank, will be dropped. This folds down. It usually takes 4 guys to manhandle it off. This will hold the entirety of the tank, so it holds 3,200 gallons. Then we will use our pumpers to draft off of that, and we will pull the water out of the bag, and then the pumper will put it on the fire. So the primary function of this truck is to shuttle water. We also have a split system, which most departments don't. This truck can actually be utilized as an engine if need be. As you can see in the front there, we actually have those pre-connects. That's a Mattadale system. Has a yellow and blue hose. Those are 1 3/4. It has a 500 gallon a minute pump. It's not optimal, just like our engines have a 1,250 gallon per minute pump. Our new engine will have a 1,500 gallon per minute pump. Not that that matters to anyone, but it's just faster water flow. But this can function as vacuum in one section, or you can switch over and it can also pump. So if we needed to, we can utilize this as a pumper, which is pretty cool. Doesn't have as many ports. It only has like two and a halves, and then we can split those off and put pre-connects, like I said, on there and utilize those if we need to. We only ever use that, to my knowledge, in the last however long that we've had this truck at wildland fires, where we utilize that pump, because there's actually a booster reel with 150 feet of only 1-inch hose. That's what we primarily use for wildland. And we'll utilize this truck for those fires because it's just more efficient to keep moving this truck with all the water that we have available and then kind of reposition. So, but it's nice to have that pump on there, and if we need to, if it evolves into a bigger scene, we can drop the portable tank and just have all the work done off of our engine. So, Daniel, if you want to go over engine 5, it's kind of same kind of get up. Just a couple other odds and ends I think that aren't on 6 that we have set up on there.
Yep, yeah, I'll kind of shuffle over here, probably make it all that side, but maybe see this side.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still on there.
Yeah, like Jared was saying, our other truck has a little bit more storage than and we engine 7.
Yeah.
Basically, gonna be just like engine 6.
Yeah.
Always here. But this one, we got some different power signatures. We'll put out a legal fire.
So, was this the first engine of the department?
Yep.
So you just keep them right up?
Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask, but I don't know if you pick up over there was something that the public know or seen stupidly by a lot of people, like expired fire extinguishers or some basic fire safety thing that a lot of people are screwing up. But what would that be if you want the town to support getting that information out to people? Maybe we can do some education.
Yeah.
Like where do you recommend getting new extinguishers, stuff like that?
Being an older truck, the other truck, I don't know if Jerry mentioned or not, engine 6 actually has something that brings a lot of down to help you get it. This one we have to actually kind of reach up over it.
So you personally like cars that have fire permits and stuff?
Yeah, I'm also real fire.
There's way to the back
Tough
here.
summer.
Similar, load up here with all of our different types of hoses. Off the back, this is our LDH, or Jared explained that, but large diameter hose that stand for. This is what we'll generally be connecting up to a hydrant with. We work towards having about 1,000 feet of hose up here of this large diameter. So that's about how far away from a hydrant we can go. We hook up, wrap around the hydrant, drive a fire. This will just kind of like flake off the top as we go. More hard suction hoses there. Different ports around connecting to different things. So they take discharge. So pay attention to taking water out. That's miscellaneous hand tools here. So I heard one of those water guns from that shoulder towel. And over here we have pretty much extra air packs and stuff as well. And then different fittings. So we connect up to the other than that, it's very similar to the other truck. Each have little specialties. You guys carry equipment for battery
Do a little brief thing, and this is just to
show
them how much we studied.
lots of water. We've got some different pump systems that they give you kind of like keep the fire, but for the most part,
Behind that,
Yep. There's a lot to learn. This is just one.
Yeah, so kind of what they've been realizing is that people put the fire out and then the tow truck comes, picks up the car, tries to move it, gets on fire again, and you've now got a car on top of the tow truck that's on fire, put that out, go to the dump or drop it off at the salvage yard, catch on fire again. So they've got like tarps you can kind of put over them to kind of contain it, smother it out. Yeah, it's kind of it's a hard thing to control. That's expensive too because the tarps are one-time use. Who pays for that kind of thing? It's that hard.
Fortunately, as crazy as it may sound, the best thing to do with an electric vehicle is just to let it burn. Because if you let the batteries burn up, it's actually less hazardous than if we were to put water on it. They've actually done studies that when you're putting water on these batteries, it creates more poisonous gas release than if you were just to let it burn, which I'm no scientist, but apparently that's the facts. And we have recently just watched a whole thing about it at one of our trainings, which was really interesting. Any questions on Engine 5, the replacement truck, or going to be replaced?
Do you expect any like salvage value for that thing?
I mean, the chassis is still great. Someone wanted to take the utility box off, but yeah, I mean, yeah, probably.
4,000 miles.
Anybody? Chuck, are you looking for one? Good, thanks.
So the last truck of the tour, our old Engine 1, 1943. It's a good old Ford Model A. Still runs. She goes in parades, and it's a great truck. It's really like to our heritage. It's always nice to see that truck going, and it's a constant reminder how far things have come in the last 100 years. So, well, close to 100 years, so 80 years. But yeah, that truck itself actually, you heard me say earlier that we use air prime. This actually had a valve that you would close, and it would use its own exhaust to prime the water to get. It didn't hold any water, it actually just would pass the water through the pump, and it would use its own exhaust. They had figured that all out back in 1943. And it's pretty impressive, the amount of technology they had. And if you ask Gordy or Paul, they'd say they fought many fires with this truck, and it always worked. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah, pulling vertical. So yeah, that's all the trucks, all the apparatus that we use.
That's the only truck we have.
Number one. As you noticed, that one's Engine 1. We've been counting upwards. The new engine will be Engine 7. It's hard to believe this department's been going for more than 114 years, 115 years, and we've only had 6 engines.
Wow.
So, Engine 7 will be the first of its breed. It will be a very big truck with a lot of stuff on it. So,
Will it fit in here?
yeah, it's the same length as the tanker. It's like, what did we say, 6 inches longer or something? Yeah.
I just
over here. Over there.
Back to the cost benefit analysis of the repairs versus the new building. Just curious, like, how is the size for your needs of this building? Is it pretty good? A little on the small side? Really small?
I would say it's a little on the small side. Ideally, I've always had a dream that I would love to see a wall kind of right here, all the way across to separate the bays from the meeting area. But it would be nice to have, obviously that would cut our space down even more in the truck bay area. So we make do, and we have everything that we try to do our best to have everything we need to do the job in one place. So.
That's something we're talking about.
So any questions?
Yeah.
Way in the back corner is actually
I was gonna ask about that.
Those are not horse drawn, they are man drawn. Those are what they used before Engine 1, they just pulled them way back when the fire station used to be over by the
Across from Garage.
across from Garage Computer. So that's what used to be over there.
Well, that was built for that machine.
There's a bunch of other firefighters there. Very interesting call.
Thanks very much. Like we said, we'll be meeting about the budget soon. I guess as far as we're concerned, we'll try to get those numbers and work with you guys by the end of the month. And just to complete the agenda, as far as the road agreement, we're just going to add 3%, put it in our budget to what we did last year.
That's what we were anticipating too.
So I don't think we need to take any action on that until we actually approve our budgets.
Yeah. I don't know if we have to vote on that. Did we do that in the past?
Last year, December 2nd, our select board made a motion to approve the 12,500.
Yeah.
That would speak to last year.
So I think we would need a motion to do that. And I would make that motion. We add 3% to last year's budget.
Second? Are we all voted? All towns?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Larissa says yes.
All right. Okay.
Great.
So you're going to continue your meeting.
Actually, we are for about
1 minute.
30 seconds.
All right, so we're going to head out.
Great, thanks very much.
Yes,
It was really great.
Thanks for watching. All right, good to see you again. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yes.